Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll get started in a couple minutes at the top of the hour. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll get started in about 1 minute at the top of the hour. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to our webinar, Building Our Future, Engaging and Empowering Youth in Vision Zero. We're really excited to have you join us today. I'm Michelle Lieberman, the Senior Technical Assistance Manager at the Safe Routes Partnership, and I'm happy to facilitate today's webinar. Today we're going to hear from a few speakers who are doing really outstanding work in engaging young people in making the streets and their neighborhoods and around their schools safer through a Vision Zero lens. So their work is really creative and inspiring, and I'm excited to have these speakers join us. Let's go ahead and get started. If you're not familiar with us, we are the Safe Routes Partnership. We're a national nonprofit organization working to advance safe walking and biking to schools. We're working to improve the health and well-being of kids of all races, income levels, and abilities, and fostering the creation of healthy communities for everyone. So how do we do this? We are working to improve the quality of life for kids, families, and communities. We're advancing policy change at the federal, state, regional, and local levels. We catalyze support for safe, healthy, active communities and share our deep expertise through things such as these webinars. A little bit of webinar housekeeping. On the left, you'll see the GoToWebinar viewer through which you'll see the presentation, and on the right is the GoToWebinar control panel. Here you can raise your hand, ask questions, and select the audio mode you'll use. Please note that your control panel will collapse automatically when not in use. If you want to keep it open, you can click the View menu and uncheck Auto Hide. There are two options for listening to us today. You can either use your phone or you can use your computer mic and speakers. If you're having sound problems with one selection, go ahead and try the other. And if you're still running into issues, we'll do our best to field any. Just send us a chat message. So everyone's going to be muted today, but we still want to hear your questions. You can use the questions box to ask our speakers questions for the Q&A portion of the webinar, which will take place after all of the presentations, and we'll try to answer as many as we can at the end. Also want to let you know that we will be recording the webinar, so if you are wanting to watch it again or send the link to your friends and colleagues, you can do this for free by going to our website, saferoutespartnership.org. You can click on the Resources tab and the heading and click on Webinars in the list on the left side of the page. All of our past webinars are stored here for your viewing pleasure. They're really great resources, so I would really urge you to take a look at these. And before we get started, I wanted to make sure that you're all aware that we are having a flash sale for the Safe Routes to School National Conference that's happening in November in Tampa, Florida. Our early bird rates are back for a limited time only, and this flash sale is going through September 11th at midnight. You can go to saferoutesconference.org in order to register. We're also excited to be offering learning credits for a lot of the professional organizations. So if you're looking for your AICP CM credits, your ASLA credits, or your NRPA CEUs, we'll be offering those for the majority of the conference sessions. All right, so today we're really excited to be partnering with the Vision Zero Network to bring you this webinar. We've seen many communities incorporate or expand on their safe routes to school efforts with a Vision Zero lens, and it's really great to have partners focus on safety supporting the safe routes to school movement. In a moment, you'll hear from Leah Sham, founder and director of the Vision Zero Network, about what Vision Zero is. But wanted to let you know that if you haven't taken a look at it already, we have a publication that we developed a couple of years ago called Vision Zero and Safe Routes to School, Partners in Safety, that talks about how communities can and are advancing safe routes to school through Vision Zero policies, plans, and implementation programs. You can find this on our website, and Molly will pop the link into the chat box. All right, so today we have a lineup of really great speakers. I'm going to quickly introduce just their names, and then I'll go ahead and read their bios before their presentations. First, we're going to hear from Leah, Executive Director with the Vision Zero Network. Then we're going to hear from Tana Ball, Founder and Executive Director of Youth Education Sports. We're going to hear from Corey Johnson and Jeanette Covington, who work in the Washington, D.C. area. And then also Fanula Quinn, founder of Discover Traffic Gardens. So first up will be Leah. Leah Sham is the founder and director of the Vision Zero Network, bringing 2 decades of proven success championing movements to advance safe, healthy, active transportation. She serves on the steering committee of the National Road to Zero Coalition, as well as the advisory board of the Collaborative Science Center for Road Safety at the University of North Carolina. Leah has researched Vision Zero strategies in Sweden, Germany, and the Netherlands. Prior to the Vision Zero Network, Leah served as the executive director for the San Francisco Bike Coalition and as a policymaker on the board of directors for the Golden Gate Bridge, Highway Transportation District, and the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, as well as the National Alliance for Walking and Biking. Go ahead and take it away, Leah.
Hi there. Thanks so much. Can everyone see my slides okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Well, thanks so much for inviting me. Huge thanks to the Safe Routes Partnership, who I love partnering with. So thank you, everybody, for making this time, and really excited to talk about how I think we can leverage the amazing momentum around the country with Safe Routes and also with Vision Zero to really advance the goals of safety for everyone. So a little bit about us. The Vision Zero Network is a relatively young nonprofit. We've been around just about 5 years, just about as long as the Vision Zero movement really has in the US. And really what we do is support Vision Zero across the country. And let me pause and make sure everyone knows Vision Zero, the goal is 0 traffic deaths or severe injuries for all road users. So that's anyone walking, biking, driving, taking transit, riding scooters, every which way. And I'd say in a more positive way, this is really about safe mobility for everyone. So we'll talk a little bit today about how Vision Zero really is growing in this country, and really how can we make the most of that, I think especially by engaging with our youth and Safe Routes programs. So it's pretty amazing. I probably don't need to share these stark statistics because you know them, but I think it is a important reminder that every day in the US, an average of 110 people die on our streets in preventable traffic crashes. And you're going to hear me say that again and again, preventable. And there's so much more that we can be doing. And we're going to talk about how do we really rally both the political will and the public support to truly put safety first to make sure that everyone can be safe on our streets. And I want to give some credit. New York City, this is a shot from New York City, was the first US city to commit to that ambitious goal of Vision Zero just about 5 years ago. And Vision Zero started in Sweden. I won't go into too much of the history right now, but it is really comes from a place of an ethical belief to say, hey, everyone has the right to move around their community safely, to get to school safely, to get to a playground, to get to work. No matter how they're getting there, they deserve to get there safely. So it really comes from this ethical or moral belief that we have to do everything we can to keep people safe. And that sounds very basic, I'm sure, kind of rudimentary, but when you stop and really look historically at, frankly, the way some of our streets have been built or not, or sidewalks have been built or not built, the way policies have been set, we see that it hasn't actually always taken a safety first, true safety first approach. So I want to give credit. Really, this is coming from the community. Again, this shot you're seeing is from New York City, where they've had tremendous success. I just want to kind of jump ahead. In their first 4 years of committing to Vision Zero, New York City cut the number of traffic deaths by nearly a third. They've had their lowest traffic death numbers on record those years since they started keeping records, which was in 1910. So tremendous success there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what they've been doing and other communities. So you'll see here on this map a wide range of communities that have committed to Vision Zero. This is more than 40. I think we're up to 42 actually. And you'll see this is a mix of cities. There's a few counties in here as well. But these are all places where their top political leadership, like their mayor or city manager, as well as their police chiefs, transportation directors, public health directors, basically the leaders within the city family, have publicly and officially committed to meet that goal of Vision Zero, zero traffic deaths or severe injuries in a set time frame. So this is pretty amazing because 5-6 years ago you weren't seeing this kind of commitment and language. You were hearing people say, oh, let's make it better or safer. But to really go out there and say, you know what, we need 100% safety, we need to make sure everything we do is about safety, that is a really different mindset. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences. So you'll see here the traditional approach and the Vision Zero approach. And this is not meant to diminish the things we've done in the past. There's so much good work that has happened that we need to build on. But I think what Vision Zero is doing is really evolving from where we've been to where we need to go. Because when you stop and think, are we going to accept what we have today, which again is 110 traffic deaths a day, that's 40,000 a year. And as we know, youth are disproportionately impacted, seniors are disproportionately impacted. And as we know, of course, there's the actual injuries and deaths, but there's also the fear, right? Those concerns of unsafe conditions are keeping our families and our community members from being out walking and biking and getting good, healthy physical activity. So how does Vision Zero change our thinking? So I'll just run through a couple of these. Even the goal itself of zero. So you see that traditionally we've been thinking, oh, some number of traffic deaths are inevitable. There's going to be, people think, in a modern society, there's going to be some results that are traffic deaths. What we're saying in Vision Zero is no, we can prevent these. And for the most part, we can predict them. We know how these things work. So part of that is number two. Traditionally, we think about really perfecting human behavior. How do we help people drive, walk, and bike safely? Of course, we need to keep doing that. That is super important. We want people to be responsible and safe. But with Vision Zero, we also acknowledge, hey, humans are imperfect. We are fallible. Sometimes we make mistakes, and that will continue. So we need to incorporate that inevitable mistake, whether it's sun in someone's eyes while they're driving or making bad decisions behind the wheel or such. We need to make sure that we build out environments and set policies, and that we create environments where those inevitable mistakes, and there will be mistakes, do not end in severe injuries or deaths. So I'm going to move it along here. Part of that is partly our language and the way we're thinking about this. So probably most of us call it traffic accidents. I know I did my whole life, and the media calls it this. Most of us say, oh, it was a terrible traffic accident on the 101 or the main street. When in reality, that really kind of shifts the sense of agency, as if everything is just an accident, right? And we know that these severe crashes, they can be prevented. And again, they can largely be predicted, and we'll talk about that. But we need to really, really, I would say, shift our language. If there's one thing I ask everyone on the call to think about for yourselves is shift your language from traffic accident to crash, and help other people do that. Just gently explain to them, hey, these aren't just random accidents. We see patterns. We know what we can do to change them. So even changing our language to incorporate more of that sense of agency and positive change is a big difference. So crash, not accident. And when I say that things are predictable, obviously we don't know everything that's going to happen, but we know a lot. These are just 3 examples. You can see here LA, San Francisco, and Denver. I chose them randomly. We see this in every community we're working in. And what this is showing is that there is a concentrated number of severe injuries and traffic deaths on a relatively small percentage of streets. So let's just take Denver. 50% of their traffic deaths are on 5% of their streets. And this is replicated place and place, time and time again, because we know not all communities have been built equally or equitably. And I'm going to move to the next slide. And thank you to the Safe Routes Partnership for this data. These are national statistics showing that low-income people in the US are twice as likely to be killed while walking as our African American and Latino community members. Not surprisingly, low-income communities have half the number of good complete sidewalks and bikeways. Similarly, low-income communities are more likely to have wide, fast-moving, high-speed arterials and freeway touchdowns. So this very much relates, of course, to the built environment, right? And we know that, many generations before us, unfortunately, have not invested equally or equitably for safety in our communities. So part of what we're needing to do is really dig into that data from this last map, and these are very simplified maps here, but we really know that by concentrating our energy and our scarce resources in the areas that are most in need, we can make a big difference. And we know that we need to do that to make sure that all our community members do have safe, healthy, equitable opportunities to move around. So part of the way we do that is based on the data, as we were just showing, know where your problems are happening and focus there. But it's also, of course, on what we're doing, right? So this spectrum of prevention, I appreciate this is from the Prevention Institute and really helps to put a health, I would say public health lens on this work. So we traditionally in the traffic safety world, we've spent a lot of time on these bottom rungs, which are individual knowledge, community education. So we're really telling people hey, be safe. And we're running campaigns and we run people in classes. They learn safety skills. That's great. We want to keep doing that. What we haven't been doing enough of, and we need to put more emphasis on, is the upper end of the spectrum, which is really influencing policy, legislation, and organizational practices. And with that, I would really say large part is the built environment. How do we really make sure that the environment that people are moving in offers the most safe and reasonable opportunities for safety? So here's just one example. It's kind of a basic example you'll see on the before and after on the right. This is New York City. Again, a big, busy, complicated city, yet they've brought their traffic deaths down. A huge way they've done this are these two pieces: roadway redesign and managing speed. These are really the crux of it. So really thinking about how do we create safe places. So you'll see they eliminated one travel lane. They created a physically buffered, separated bikeway, less crossing, less space for pedestrians to cross, and have a much safer street. I wanted to share this photo. This is kind of the how not to do it. This is in my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, where I grew up. These kids are right out, they're in a suburban neighborhood. These kids are walking to school, which is great. The school, elementary school, is about 2 blocks away. So good for them. They're out there getting some exercise, walking to school, but they do not have sidewalks. There's not sidewalks on either side of this street. So, and I do see drivers flying down this street. So here's a great example where no amount of education or enforcement is going to help these kids in this environment, right? They need safe choices. They need good sidewalks. The next piece, along with roadway design, is managing speed. And just very briefly, we need to really focus on safety over speed. And if there's one image I could show, it would be this one. The average human, and again, this is just the average kind of healthy person walking hit by a car at 20 miles per hour has a 90% chance of survival. At 40 miles per hour, your odds switch dramatically. So just a 90% chance of death. So that is significant. So what does that really mean? It means if we are encouraging and wanting and succeeding in encouraging people to walk and bike and take transit and wait for transit, then we need to make sure those environments are built not only safely for them walking and biking and taking transit, but also that the speeds are appropriate. So I really want to give credit. Please check out our website for more examples, but we're seeing communities from Portland to Boston to DC to Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Austin, Texas, lowering speed limits, adding automated speed enforcement, redesigning streets, all with the goal of getting these car speeds lower. So here you see a 20 is plenty campaign in Portland, and this is a huge piece of how we're going to get to Vision Zero. And I would say a huge opportunity, particularly around school areas, around parks, around transit centers, places that we're encouraging and wanting people to walk and bike. And that's a big piece of what they're doing. Again, this is New York City. They lowered their speed limits citywide from 30 to 25. And then they also added fairly recently, just in the last few years, cameras, safety cameras, automated speed enforcement around their school zones, and it's had a tremendous impact. Fewer injuries, fewer deaths, lower speeding or less speeding, and fewer tickets, which is a good thing. We don't want people to get tickets. We want them to change their behavior and be safe. So I really want to plant that seed. If your Safe Routes program is not yet thinking about managing speed, that's a really key piece to it. And I'm just going to wind down now by saying, really, it's, the goal with Vision Zero and in all of our work in traffic safety and safe routes is to help people have more. Zero is about more birthdays, more celebrations, more time with friends. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'll hand it back to you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah. Next, we're going to hear from Tana Ball. Tana is a education and bicycling coach who, after 30 years, saw a need for cycling to be taught in schools as a part of the regular PE classes. In 1998, she founded the nonprofit Youth Education Sports to offer the YES cycling program to school districts. The YES curricula is aligned with the National Physical Education Standards and Common Core, so they can be taught by credentialed teachers. When Vision Zero was first rolling out, YES took the opportunity to implement this concept into the YES curricula for middle school students. And the YES school cycling program with Vision Zero will have been introduced to 50 middle schools in the Los Angeles Unified School District by 2021, reaching 85,000 students. Pretty exciting. Tana, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, this is Youth Educational Sports, and we're calling all of our educational programs, kindergarten through 12, school cycling programs. But understand that in all of our programs, we include walking safety as well as riding safety. So the two are quite interactive. Just a little bit about myself. I came into cycling late in my life and jumped right into it and was very successful as a competitor, worked with teams, even was a coach at the Olympic Training Center. And it was interesting, while I was there at the Olympic Training Center, this is where we have camps, and we'd have kids from all over the United States, and they were, quote unquote, the elite cyclists. They had no foundation of basic cycling skills, which astounded me, even down to the pure thing of how to fall. You can build in muscle memory and learn how to fall. So that kind of planted a seed in me that we needed more cycling education. My whole family comes out of coaching and education. So I happened to come across a grant while I was in Escondido working with the pro team, and I put together a typical rodeo elementary school program and did great, but that wasn't enough. I wanted to do a middle school level because that's the age that the kids start to venture out onto the streets. That's the age when they take those risks, and they need to have that knowledge of where they're supposed to ride. So thank goodness LAUSD brought me on board, and from there I've proceeded to march forward, and we'll do that march together right now through my slides. So our school cycling program, when I developed the middle school program, there were like 10 good reasons why the program needed to be rolled out as part of the physical education unit. At first in LA Unified, I went around with the traveling program, and I did this, one-day program, put the kids on the bikes during PE hours. But here I was talking to all these professionals, the PE teachers. I'm going, they could teach this, and then we could have a chance to teach the program on multiple days, not just that traveling program. So the other thing that always bugged me is the school's facility was a perfect place to learn cycling. Cycling is the only sport out there, or activity, not just a sport, that doesn't have a safe venue to learn it, and the school has it. And you need to learn not only the sport, but you need to learn the sport as a form of transportation. And it's been proven that it works great in helping obesity, ADHD. It just goes on and on and on and on. And you can read down my list here. That's no problem. So what happened to, there it is. So when, okay, here we are. So when I put together the first class, and the PE teachers love teaching it. They understand the concept. They understand what's happening. It's a little challenging for them to get all that equipment. For example, in LA Unified, they reduced the numbers of kids in a PE class down to 55. And at first I'm thinking, whoa, put 55 bikes out on the field. But with the new California standards, it ends up you only have to put half that amount of bikes out because the kids share a bike, and it works wonderful because the kids do a shared accountability of each other's skill learning. So first off, all the curriculum programs, of course, have to be, if the PE teacher is going to be able to teach it, meet all the national PE standards. In California, their PE standards are even more stringent, and so the curriculum had to be adjusted to that. I extended it now from that typical one-day type lesson to now a 15-day lesson. My nonprofit organization, we have taken professional cyclists or cyclists who are very interested in the safety concept of bicycling, like LCIs and NICA coaches and USA cycling coaches, and train them how to teach the PE teachers. And that's through professional development. Then they stick around and they help the PE teachers that first day with all the equipment, not teach the class, but help them to be able to see cycling and to see how to correct the cycling body mechanics that maybe a child is doing. So the best part about a school rolling out the program is every student participates annually. When I ran around with the PE program, the traveling PE program, rather than PE teachers teaching it, it required then that the PE teachers had to gain a permission slip from the parent. And I know if anybody who's done any type of traveling PE program with a bicycle subject, that permission slip has to be gained. Well, it ends up, if it's taught through the PE class as a PE program, you don't have to get the permission slips. We'll talk about that more later. So that means PE departments, of course, they're inclusive for students with disabilities. They're inclusive, they can't tell if there's a novice rider in the group. And then we also encourage the PE teachers and help them out in starting the school cycling club and team, doing community outreach, teach the kids to go home and talk to the parents about everything they're learning and teach the parents. And then we do a certification of the teachers to keep them in the loop so they can advance each year with the new procedures. Okay, yes, curricula foundation for all cycling disciplines. What we teach in the PE program is not how to ride a BMX bike, how to do a mountain bike. We use a single speed general, like a commuter bike practically, so that all the kids are learning on the same equipment that doesn't have a lot of things to be concerned about, like shifting your gears or front shocks. What they're concentrating on is their body position and how they're riding their bikes. Right now, we've got 2 grants going, one with LADOT, Department of Transportation, and their main focus is Vision Zero, and the other one is with the LA Unified School District. And they want the Vision Zero as well, but very much focused in all the areas that Safe Routes to School highlights. So Safe Routes to School, and I compliment Safe Routes to School that they put in equity. All these years I've been doing this, and thank you for putting in equity. I remember when it used to be just 4 E's, then it became 5 E's, and I'm so excited about the 6th E. So in our program, equity is so much achieved because now We have the ability to, everyone starts out learning at the same level in the class. Everybody is exposed to the same thing. There's no gender barriers. There's no ethnic barriers. The parents, if you have a parent that won't bring a child's bicycle to school, like a rodeo that they use the kids' bikes, the kid can't participate, or the parent just doesn't care and doesn't get the permission slip slide, they don't have that issue. These are all the students that need to be gathered into the world of how to transport safely. And it's so exciting that this is now a focus area. So in the PE programs, like I said, they already do have inclusive programs where the PE department has the students with disabilities already in the regular classes. It's wonderful. Also, because we start the kids off, everybody starts, since no one's had any foundation training, they all start out together. So if you've got a novice rider who's scared to get on a bike, this is their opportunity to start at very simple steps and learn it over a 15-day period. And we, like in Europe, first thing they do when kids get on bicycles and get some type of training is they teach them how to fall. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I can attest to this, it really does work. So we also teach them how to fall and how to fall so that they come out not as badly injured or not injured at all. So students with disabilities may never have ridden a bicycle. It's amazing, and I've talked to the PE teachers about how little, even through their period in school, at home, that they don't learn how to balance. That's the first thing we teach a child on a bicycle, is how to balance. And so you will never get a better reward than seeing a child with a disability get on a bike. That smile and able to ride and turn the bike, that smile will stay with you. I'm crying. I always cry when I get to this part. One time we did a special program with a visually impaired school. We got some tandems, and the first time I put one of the kids on the bike, and we'd gone through this whole thing of balance, and you know, if I'm going to turn, I'll tell you, and you need to shift your head over to the left if it's a left turn, blah blah blah. So we pushed off, and we're riding along, and I heard behind me this kid going, "Oh my, oh my, oh my!" And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? So okay, we're stopping. I'm putting on the brakes. Now put your foot down. And I turned to him. I said, what's wrong? He says, nothing. I have never felt the wind in my face. I have never felt freedom like this. So I, quietly got myself put back together, and we got going on the bike again and rode. And that young man rode in the LA bike tour 3 years in a row. So they will be some of the students that will benefit the most by learning this. Okay. So more on the program itself is a 15-day lesson plan. We do a presentation that it's a middle school active transportation. In there, we talk about walking on sidewalks, it's rules of walking on the sidewalk and what to look for, and et cetera, as well as bicycling. And it has actually a quiz at the end. Then in the lesson plan, there's 12 days of skill building, one of them being learning how to fall if you do a forward fall or a sideward slide, how to fall. And 2 days out of the 15-day lesson plan is completely focused on Vision Zero. I want the kids to learn, why are we putting a jut out here? Why do we have those big stripes in the crosswalk? Why? I want them to take ownership. When they go home, it's amazing what they talk to their parents about. This is why we do this. This does this. This does this. So if they take ownership and they actually design, and we'll get into more of that. After they design it, then the next day they first walk it to see how well they did in their design work and ride the design. So that's a full breakdown of all the different skills, and you can go check out this webinar again and take a closer look, or get in touch with me. I'll be happy to send you copies of any of our materials. We show the kids advanced Vision Zero, street calming, changing things to make it safe for everything. We have each class, so let's say there's 5 periods. The first 2 classes, they learn all the different things, what's the reason for the different street lanes, curb colors, street signs, jut outs, crosswalk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We want them to think about the streets around their school and how they can make a change there. See, I'm turning all these kids into future advocacy for getting our streets better. Then the first period, they will figure out how many street lanes they want to do and how many streets. And they go outside at the end of that period and they chalk it. Then maybe the next period, they learn all of it, but then they go out and they just put in the curb color and maybe design the traffic signs. And then the next period, they'll do the jut outs, the walkouts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So by the end of the day, with all the kids going out and actually chalking on the asphalt what they design. We also suggest the PE teacher to invite the city traffic engineer to come to the class when they do skill 8 and have him talk with the kids and work with the kids through that day. So then the next day, and this is kind of an example of one of the ones that the kids drew, the next day, then they, like I said, they go out. First they walk it and test it, and then they get on the bikes and then they ride it. So depending on the state of the streets around the schools, we may encourage the kids, especially the 6th graders, to definitely use the sidewalks if possible, depending on what conditions they have out there already. We also suggest to the PE teachers that they invite law enforcement to come and talk and interface with the kids. And if not, maybe turn some of the kids into law enforcement and actually give out good prizes, good job prizes, tickets. Okay. So please feel free to contact me for any of the information. And from there, there's high school, and we do a program in high school as well. Thank you.
Great, thanks,
Bye
Donna.
Thank you.
I'm going to have a question about the high school by school unit at the end. Next, we're going to hear from Corey Johnson and Jeanette Covington. Corey is the DC Community Engagement Manager for the Safe Routes Partnership. She currently works with schools and families in Washington, D.C. to support Vision Zero efforts, and she uses her background in arts and education to create transportation safety experiences that are inclusive, empowering, engaging, and people-centered. Corey's going to be quickly followed by Jeanette. Jeanette is an innovative special educator. She has taught students in grades pre-K through 12 from New York to Washington, D.C. on how to apply their skills in the real world. She's known for creating the CDMA business model, a real-world application facilitation program where she integrates digital art technology, business marketing, and advertising into curricula to support English, math, social studies, and sciences. All right.
Thanks for the introduction. Thanks, Michelle. So I'm just going to talk really quickly about my collaboration with Jeanette, otherwise known as Miss C to her students. So as Michelle mentioned, I am the DC Community Engagement Manager here at Safe Routes Partnership, and I have been working on a project called Safe Routes for Youth, which is really around engaging young people between the ages of 13 to 21 in Vision Zero. And the idea is that we really want to empower young people to speak about transportation safety, speak about their own concerns and develop their own solutions, especially because they know what they need and they can influence their peers best. So as a part of this project, I had the chance to work with Missy, who's a super inspiring educator and who really embraces the power of incorporating creativity into transportation safety. So I met Missy while I was working on another project at a middle school here, Kelly Miller Middle School. And Missy told me that her students have been working on creating glow-in-the-dark and reflective clothing to raise awareness about visibility and speeding and pedestrian safety. And so it's just kind of like one of those things that was meant to be, and we formed this lovely collaboration. So Missy invited, and her students invited me into their space, and we got to work on a Vision Zero campaign that combined fashion, entrepreneurship, and safety. So students created their own glow-in-the-dark and reflective apparel and accessories, not only to raise awareness about Vision Zero, but to also encourage safe walking, biking, driving, scooting. And the students created and sold their products at their school store. They did T-shirts and jackets and fanny packs and headbands, and all of this really came from them. It was very lively, very organic, and you know, like they chose to kind of spread their message through fashion because that's just a language their peers could relate to. It was automatically engaging. They also used the hashtag #SlowDownDC as one of their main messages for the campaign, and created these little yellow apparel tags that got attached onto the products that they made. And here are a few more things that they made: jean jackets, little slide sandals, tote bags. And again, this was all created by students, all created in their classroom. And this was just their way of spreading their message about what safety means to them and about what people should do to be safer. And at the end of the campaign, the students organized a glow-in-the-dark party to celebrate their success and to send their peers off to the summer with that message of staying safe. And that was also a lot of fun and really engaging for middle school students. So I was super excited to be a part of this project. I come from an arts background, so the opportunity to combine arts and fashion and safety was really special and exciting. And I'm going to pass it along to Missy, or Shanette, and she is going to talk a bit more about her youth engagement model, which is something that I never really seen before, but that is really engaging and that can be applied across many different subjects, not just transportation safety. So I will pass it along to Missy, and she will share a bit about her work with her young people.
Well, thank you so much. Totally appreciate it, Corey. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'm really excited about this webinar because it's imperative that educators understand how empowering it is to ultimately watch students thrive in their atmosphere. So let's get started with CDMA business model, preparing youth for the real world, bridging the alliance in urban schools. So CDMA business model is a real world application program designed to help bridge the alliance between corporate America and youth. Innovation ultimately evolves through desperation. And our children are desperately seeking some type of opportunity or a chance to take on leadership to live out their dreams. The only, I guess, in retrospect, the students have told me, frustration has been that they're in school and the only requirement and expectation of adults is that they do well in their academic courses. So with that in mind, I believe it's imperative that educators practice what they teach. Students ultimately would like to move themselves and hold themselves accountable, but they need that chance. So what we're moving towards is a shift. Educators need support in making real world connections. Educators can really benefit from innovation through a cycle for collaboration. We can ultimately infuse student-directed integration and technology into curricula, participate in facilitating organic process of creativity, as you've seen in the presentation by Corey. The CDMA business model cycle for collaboration is based on 4 guiding principles: empower, enrich, engage, and explore. With these guiding principles, teachers can actually move empowered when schools embrace the opportunity for educators to focus on their own unique craft and integrate it into classroom instruction, therefore making that environment exciting and enjoyable. Enrich, when educators create an atmosphere that is enjoyable, then the learning process becomes enriched and engaging. Engaging is the part that everyone talks about. How can we engage students in learning? Well, when the learning process is engaging, students are then and this is key, intrinsically motivated to actually explore. And when you explore and students are intrinsically motivated, the content becomes rigorous, productivity accelerates, and facilitation tools and resources like CDMA business model needed to be introduced. So CDMA business model student-directed interests in math, English, visual arts, and special education is specialized in helping each of those core subjects. So what you've seen through the collaboration with Vision Zero is we actually applied a lot of math. CDMA business model real world application for math includes robust entrepreneurship strand for launching student-run businesses right out of the classroom. And one key factor that's really important to recognize is that all proceeds go right back into the classroom and also supports the school. That is important to recognize because we find that students are really moving out of a sheer essence to support the community. English. CDMA business model, real world application strand for English through research, creative writing, and book publishing is 100% for students that are writing creatively in the corner or to the side, but they're scared to share their talents and gifts. What I do is I work as a consultant with the parent to actually allow those students writing to become real works of art. So what you're looking at is a GIF of some books from my students that published on Amazon. So you can actually purchase my students' books on Amazon. Please do support them because it's a really great book. All of them got the Maya Spriggs, Tiffany Gillis. Many students took advantage of that opportunity. Then visual arts. So CDMA business model real world application for visual arts is integrated digital art technology. Now, I really take time to break down everything that I'm saying in preparing students for the real world, which is a new book that is out, and you can actually purchase that on Amazon as well. But it really gives you lesson plans and step-by-step guides on how to make sure that what you're doing as you're working collectively with the students holds a high level of integrity. Special education is a big one. So CDMA business model is now empowering schools. And this is awesome because now we are actually heavily involved in consulting schools with professional development workshops to support teachers and empower educators. Some examples: real world application class video samples from my awesome students, research expo where students were actually doing APA style thesis at 10 and 11 years old. We have the Stop the Bullying campaign by the student-run business that actually participated in the Vision Zero clothing line. They're called Be For Real Fashion Swaggers, and please do visit beforrealfashionswaggers.com. They're very serious about their company, but we're really proactive. So real world application videos can be found at YouTube/official Missy class. And then the real world results. The awesome LED lights, glow in the dark, and reflective tapes that we used to enhance the clothing and apparel. They're very proud of their work. And a lot has to do with the fact that I took time to recognize that innovation comes from sheer desperation, and there's a lot of desperation with students when they're looking at their core courses or a course that they're really just not interested in and they're bored. So the goal ultimately is to help teachers recognize that they can still teach curricula, but let's compact it and integrate it with real world experiential learning and allow CDMA business model to help you as you're preparing youth for the real world. For more information, you can visit www.beaboutbusiness.com. Or, of course, follow me on Instagram at Missy Class.
Thanks so much. Really creative and wonderful work happening by the students. So last we have Fanula Quinn. Fanula is the founder of Discover Traffic Gardens. Her first love is watching children experience that type of active learning fun that creates new awareness about their built world. She has decades of experience as a civil engineer, plus as an advocate for better streets, and she now designs custom traffic gardens, educator kits, and all sorts of related hands-on activities. So Fanula, take it away.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to have this opportunity today. I'm going to talk about a great DC project where a team of us installed 2 traffic gardens at 2 elementary schools using funds from the Department of Transportation and working inside the schools to integrate with the school programs. So first, I'm just going to take a moment to define traffic gardens. Basically, they're just a network of streets separated from cars, miniaturized, places that are comfortable for children to use for creative play, for learning to bike. They've been around since 1938. On the left, you see Mansfield, Ohio. This is the first facility installed by a local officer. And the idea, right from the start, caught on. They peaked at about 3,000 facilities around the world in the 70s. And then the idea went off a bit, but it's been coming back for the last decade or so. The facility on the right there was installed just a few years ago in Ferndale, Michigan, and it's really not all that different to the 1938 facility, except for we have a lot more materials, surface materials that we can use. Now, some of you may be familiar with the other types of facilities that are much more elaborate, where there's actual defined streets and buildings, all miniaturized, but it's all basically a similar type idea. So we're working in DC with DC children, DC public schools. If you're not familiar, DC is just going into its 5th year of the 2nd grade bike education program, and that's important related to this project. Through PE, all 2nd graders get sort of 5 to 7 classes where they learn to bike, and the last class is where they bike on the street to a community destination, and that can be anything from 4 to 7 miles round trip. So that's pretty challenging, and most kids succeed in doing that. Once they started up that program, they realized they needed that there was an opportunity to work up with the children earlier, so they put thousands of balance bikes into the preschool programs so that children could just play with the bikes and develop their balance before they showed up in 2nd grade. And you always have to think when you're working in the city, in DC, it's a city of lots of disparities, and safety is so much about being treated equitably, as Leah talked about. So that was always in the back of our mind during the project. And the city had one of the early Vision Zero action plans, and within that, it talked about the bike education program. But now, as I say, we're going into the 5th year of that. But children remain, called out as being some of the most vulnerable users of the street. So we were trying to work on a project that sort of added some new ideas to helping children within the city. So as part of their Vision Zero program, they have a grant program for projects, which is great because you can come up with ideas. It's administered by the Department of Transportation. And George Mason University in Virginia formed a team, which I was part of. It was led by George Mason. And we applied for $150,000 to construct 2 traffic gardens within the school system. The project also involved, completely equipping those sites with like signs and sheds and challenge equipment, also developing programming for within the school to pair with the traffic gardens, and most importantly, research. This is an area where there's very little information about how traffic gardens do work. We know that children love them, but the research was intended to assess the impacts of bicycle safety education program through the dramatic play and outdoor play that the students would be engaging in when they biked in the traffic gardens. So that was a key little part of the project. So, we went through a whole process where the 2 schools were selected. They're both in Ward 7. They were schools in areas with greater need and higher potential for benefits. They're only about 1.5 miles apart, but they're opposite sides of a highway, so they're in completely different types of communities. On the left is Nettle Thomas Elementary School, and on the right is Maud Aton Elementary School. So we had a large team working on the project, but we also had many stakeholders and interests in this project. So right from the start, we went to work building relationships. The client was the Department of Transportation, but we're working inside the school system. Although we're working directly with the central office, we're actually performing the project within operating schools. So, the principals, the PE teachers, the preschool teachers, other staff, custodians, all have interests and input on this project. So we created lots of sort of events and different ways to give input and listen to people's ideas. One of the great things about the project was, we knew what we wanted to do, but we had a lot of flexibility in how we were going to do it. And the Traffic Garden project very much lends itself to that. It's not really a defined thing. So we're able to incorporate a lot of ideas. So there was a weekly newsletter within the team to help keep us in touch with the community, what was going on in real time, both in the Traffic Garden world, but also in the direct community. And I think I haven't mentioned who was on the team, but it included Torty Gallus and Partners, a design firm, myself, and we also were assisted by Washington Area Bicycle Association, as well as the National Partnership, the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. I'm going to quickly sort of run through the next few slides. One of the key parts and sort of what's fundamental to my work is designing for kids and designed by kids. So we broke the Traffic Gardens down into their components and held design charrettes at both schools. We were trying to communicate all the ideas related to the Traffic Garden and have the kids give input on all the different aspects. So this is Mod Aton. We had 22 second graders. We had about 6 activities and about 10 adult facilitators. We were, we're having them participate in all sorts of activities, some of which we're listening for their ideas, some of which they're preparing designs and we're gathering them up. All of the time we're trying to get their ideas. This is Neville Thomas Elementary School. We had about 180 kids, and in this case, they were from preschool through 2nd grade. We actually had a lot more activities here because we needed to pitch them at different levels, but we were very much looking for real ideas. And, we had them write letters to City Hall, design different layouts. And I will say kids all loved it. We got some fantastic ideas. And every time you work with kids, there's adults all around too. And they're learning and listening also and engaging in the process. So we work closely with the schools. There's a lot of different aspects to an operating school, and we're bringing in something that's changing their operation. We then took all of the input from all the different stakeholders, holding the children's input really as being critical, and sort of, worked together, the team worked together to come up with the designs. And obviously, the same as any input project, you can't take everybody's ideas, and they end up taking different forms. But we wanted the children to be able to see finished facilities and use these facilities that they could recognize aspects of the design and recognize that they had played a role. As we were busy working on the design in the background, we still were holding engagement events. And we had families assist us in creating the felt boards that go with the curriculum that was developed. And we did that at both schools. And of course, that gave us opportunities to talk about the project and hear from families about when they went to school and, their current thoughts also. We held Vision Zero hero events before school. And I worked with Corey. That's Corey's work on the right-hand side there. Again, we were trying to connect the ideas. We were trying to give people updates. We were trying to stay in touch. Finally, we got to installation. This is the day after Christmas. It was pretty involved. We took the entire asphalt area at both schools, And, you know, these are difficult projects to install because of the small scale. We did use real traffic paint products, although they don't need things like the reflective aspects and stuff like that. So finally, you get to a very important moment, which is the ribbon cutting, which it's really important that, you know, we pause in the process and we have an opportunity to talk about all the people who helped, all the roles people played, because there were many moving parts to this project and many people contributing. And, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity for the children to see their work come to fruition. So this is Maud Aton. This is Neville Thomas. In this picture, you have the head of the Department of Transportation and the school chancellor, as well as Dr. Ellen Rogers, who led the project from George Mason, and other folks. But again, you know, these are very important, wonderful occasions where you get to explain these ideas and talk about everybody's roles. That's the school chancellor with the children who we had worked with for the media event. So that was great. The work is ongoing. We ran out of school year. The research will be taking place soon, but this is just some recent work where we set up a mini traffic garden over at George Mason to test out some of the equipment related to the research. These children were mic'd up to, you know, because after they've received the instruction in the classroom, they are going to be videoed and their audio recorded while they experience the traffic garden. And it's been really wonderful having early childhood researchers on our team developing this research, and we're very interested in coming out with, you know, new information from this project. So here's Maud Aton. That isn't even the entire traffic garden. It's hard to get it all in one picture. This is Neville Thomas, again, not the entire traffic garden, but they were designed to accommodate the PE program and the preschool program. So, you know, they vary throughout the design. So that's a brief version of our story, which is still ongoing. And that's my contact information. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vanilla, and thank you to all of our speakers today. We're basically out of time, so if you have more questions, we'll go ahead and include everybody's contact information in the email that goes out after this webinar. And again, thank you for joining us. We'll have a quick survey, and that email would be really great for you to fill it out, and we'll have the recordings up on our website shortly too. Thank you and have a good day.